Hello there. My name is Ruth Miller, and I'm the editor for Portal Center Press, a small publishing company on the Oregon coast, where we work with Oregon authors to get interesting ideas out there in titles that we hope will inform and inspire. And today I get to interview our latest author, who's been with us for several years, but this is her second edition of a really powerful book, a book that's called Wake Up. Our old beliefs don't work anymore. And it's really a wake-up call. It causes all of us to stop and think, whatever it was we thought we believed, we don't probably need to believe it anymore, at least based on what Dee has discovered. And that's what she's going to talk with us today. So Dee Cuenod, otherwise known as Dee, welcome to Portal Center Press.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness, it's been a long time to get to this point. So I'm going to ask the first question, of course. How did you come to write this book?
Oh, gee. Simply put, I realized that my philosophy of life, my beliefs, which I had been teaching for about 30 years at that point in time, was very different from what seemed to be the beliefs of everybody else. And since it gave me such satisfaction and comfort and enabled me to enjoy life and without fearing anything, I thought I would share it.
Sounds good to me. So you said you were teaching these for a while, and you said that they were different from what the rest of the world seemed to be believing, the people around you seemed to be believing. How are the beliefs you're talking about in this book different from what everybody else says?
Mostly it's a case of people being very materialistic as opposed to being spiritual. What I talk about in this book, I discuss their views, and I discuss my views, which are strictly spiritual, and I in a sense, counter the materialist views.
All right. And so is that part of why you seem to be more inclined to support the Eastern wisdom than traditional Western wisdom?
Yes, the Eastern wisdom is spiritual and very similar to what I believe anyway, and it's the least materialistic of any traditions. Well, I say least. Aborigine are very spiritual, and there are some denominations of the three Western religions that are spiritual, but they're not accepted by the orthodox of those religions. And it's really a case of spiritual.
Okay, I think you need to define that word.
Oh boy.
You've said it's not what most religions practice, so what is it?
It is, I guess, first of all, believing that we are all spiritual beings, not merely material beings. We are spiritual beings having material experience on earth. And that view is really pretty different from what most religions believe, and a lot of the I don't know, the people who who talk about these sorts of things. But spiritual is, I equate spirituality or spirit with consciousness. And I believe that that we are all consciousness as well as spirit, or it's, you know, the same thing. And that what we are experiencing here on earth is not real. It
Oh boy,
is,
you're going
it,
to get into some interesting issues with folks around that. They're going to appreciate reading what you have to say there, I'm sure.
I hope so. We are, what we are experiencing is really in our consciousness, rather than something actually physical.
Got it.
And
Uh-huh. So that opens up all kinds of doors for the difference between how most people live our lives and what you're suggesting, but it also helps me understand why you say that your belief system lets you be totally unafraid of anything, right? So if people
it
get
does that.
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, yes, it eliminated fear from my consciousness entirely.
Wonderful.
I have no reason to fear anything, because I know that everything is perfect in its time, as it is, and I know that it's in our consciousness that it's taking place, and that it's a very hard concept to try to explain, but and the book does.
Indeed, which is part of why the book is over 300 pages.
Yes.
But yeah, it's one of those books that it's hard to put down, because I think you've done a beautiful job of supporting what it is you're suggesting. You've drawn on a lot of resources. As I remember, we've got like 3 or 4 pages of resources at the back of the book, and a lot of footnotes to help people see how what other people are teaching is supporting what you're saying here. Are there particular writers that you think well of that you'd like people to think about? Are there other metaphysical teachers that you think are supportive of what you're saying?
Yes, I think Gary Zukav, Neil Donald Walsh, and probably Greg Braden
All
would be the
right.
3 that I might suggest, and you too.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, because we have basically in the sciences, as you've put in your book, there's a materialist approach, and then there's a consciousness-based approach, and they offer very different ideas about how the world works. Yes?
Definitely, they're almost in total opposition to each other.
Mm-hmm.
the 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 consciousness one is just as scientific as the materialist one. The materialism is espoused by orthodox science in university level academia, and the consciousness idea is espoused by quantum physicists, who haven't been accepted by the orthodox scientists, and the orthodox scientists dominate academia and everything that we're taught.
I got it. So that brings me to yet another question, and that is, how is it that these ideas that you're bringing, or this shift in belief, is necessary? Because you're saying those old beliefs no longer work for us.
I believe that those old beliefs are actually hurting humanity and all species on this planet, and that by shifting to a spiritual view of life, ourselves, and there's just spirituality in general can change all that. It can help us. It can help us address our problems and the conditions that we don't like in our world today. Whereas the materialist is causing those problems rather than helping them.
Oh my, that's a big statement that you've just made. And I think actually, without really knowing it, I would suggest that was why it was so important to Portal Center Press to make sure this book gets out there. And that's why I'm very glad we're having this interview, so people can hear it in your own words, the importance of making the shift from a set of beliefs that, as you say, are actually causing more problems than they are solving.
One of the things, for instance, let's say our inner city problems at the moment. The materialist view addresses those problems as separate individual items, rather than as a whole system or a whole problem within the context of our society, and it'll never solve them that way. They aren't fragments. They need to be looked at as a whole.
As a whole that's part of a larger whole?
Oh, yes. Yes, within our whole society, within the whole world, within the way we treat each other, the way we treat other species, the way we live.
I get it. I get it. Wow. So you've put a lot of effort into this book, and then you put a lot of effort into the second edition of this book. Do you want to talk at all about how the second edition builds on the first edition?
Well, it really hasn't changed much. It really, we just kind of corrected some of the issues or some of the problems with the first one. It's not basically different at all.
Okay.
It's just in some details.
I think I saw a little bit of updating of some of the references and the examples that were being used. And I think that's why we do second edition, so we can clean up the old one and bring it up to date to the current date.
Right.
Yeah. So if you had one thing to say to someone who might be interested in reading this book, or might be curious and hasn't yet picked it up, one thing that you'd like to say to them, now's your chance.
This book would show you what I mean by everything is perfect at all times, as it is. And that is it's a very comforting kind of belief, knowing, and I do mean knowing that everything that occurs does so out of love, actually, on a spiritual level, and is perfect as it is.
So beautiful. Thank you, Dee. Really appreciate your taking the time to give us a little more to chew on around the book. I think that's gorgeous. So for those of you who don't know, we are Portal Center Press, and this is Dee Cuenod, also known as Dee, and her book, Wake Up, Our Beliefs Don't Work Anymore. This is the second edition, and it's available in all the usual places. It's on the Ingram listing as well as on Amazon. Your bookstore can order it. You can order it from Portal Center Press. There will be a link with this video so you can get it directly from us. And Dee has offered a special, and that is she will give you some of her email articles if you can go ahead and buy this book this month in November. So the code word when you go to order the book will be November if you order it from Portal Center Press. I don't know why the glare is so bad on that. I'll try to fix that next time. So we're going to be, doing everything we can to get this book out there because it is so timely. And there are so many people who are so concerned about what's going on in the world. And it looks to me as if what Dee has to offer is something that can help us all relax and be at peace. Is that fair to say?
Thank you very much. Yes.
My pleasure. So thank you all for watching and listening, and you'll find the link for the book below. And when you do contact Dee, you will be able to have more of her wisdom. Thank you very, very much.